CPDM militants and elites of the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon paint what has been qualified as a 37-year balance sheet of failure of the New Deal regime of President Paul Biya. The elite speaking in the far north region of the country decried the underdeveloped nature of that part of the country, qualifying the far north as a region of Boko Haram, malaria, cholera, hunger and poverty. And also in this newscast, we'll talk about Samuel Wazizi, journalist of CMTV in the southwest regional chief town Buea, who has been in detention for several weeks now in connection to the Anglophone crisis. The request for a habeas corpus has been rejected by the Buea High Court. We'll be coming back on this with greater details with the lawyer, one of the defense lawyers of Samuel Wazizi in this newscast. Marks 37 years since President Paul Biya came to power after the first president of the Republic of Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo, resigned on the 4th of November 1982, and 2 days later the president of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, at the time Prime Minister, constitutional successor of President Amadou Ahidjo, was sworn in. And of course, 37 years down memory lane, what has been happening? What are the major achievements and failures of the New Deal regime? We're going to talk about that in this newscast, and we're going to start right away in the far north region of the country, where some militants of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM political party, and elite of that part of the region have painted what has been qualified as a 37-year balance sheet of failure of the New Deal regime with regards to the chronic underdevelopment affecting the area. And of course, they have qualified the far north region of Cameroon as the region of Boko Haram, insecurity, banditry, cholera, malaria, hunger and poverty. Immaculate Fogwe report.
Région de Boko Haram.
Far North region, region of Boko Haram. 3 divisions destroyed. Far North region, region of poverty. Far North region, region of cholera, malaria, floods and
région des inondations, région de la famine.
Honorable Aji Abdullahi, Member of Parliament of the ruling Cameroon People Democratic Movement political party, CPDM, paints a gloomy picture of the region that has given the highest number of votes to the party's national president and head of state, Paul Biya, in different elections for the past 37 years.
Lorsque nous avons passé 3 mois dans la rue,
another member of parliament from the ruling party highlights another side of the underdevelopment challenges plaguing the far north region of Cameroon. After spending 3 months in mud, if we come to them with an ambiguous speech, they will not believe us, because they have waited for 2 to 3 years and the road has never been rehabilitated. What else will you tell them?
6% seulement des élèves à l'extrême nord sont scolarisés.
6% scolarization rate for the past 20 years. We have the Ministry of Basic Education from Madam Ahmad through Madam Yusuf Maimouna Baola. All these people were at the helm of education, but till now our children are not going to school.
Nous devons faire la politique de la vérité, non pas la politique du mensonge.
This is why Honorable Aji thinks it's time for politics to be done in truth and not lies, because the people know what is happening. So it is better to do a campaign of truth. The elite spoke out their disappointment with the 37-year-old regime of President Paul Biya in Marwa during a meeting that initially aimed at mapping out strategies ahead of the CPDM upcoming elections. In response, House Speaker Honorable Kavaye Jibril blamed what critics have qualified as a 37-year balance sheet of failure of the New Deal government in the Fano region due to lack of commitment by some CPDM militants and the unstable socio-economic situation of Cameroon.
Thanks, Immaculate Fogwe. And Barrister Alice Com, one of the Cameroonians who lived the coming to power of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, on the 6th of November 1982, says that President Paul Biya, who is known today 37 years after, is not the same who took over power from the first president of Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo. She thinks that the 37 years of President Paul Biya's reign have been marked by more failure than success. Take a listen. She spoke to us in La Verite en Face. Where were you when the news of President Paul Biya, at the time Prime Minister, coming to power was announced, and how did you get the news?
You know, we got the news from the radio. We didn't have TV on this time. I don't think we had it. And everybody was shocked because surprised. What are we going to do? What will be the next step? And then, after that, when the things came true and effective on the field, many people were so happy because we were prepared by President Amadou himself, who asked us to support his successor, to love him, to help him, to support him. So everybody was glad. Everybody was confident.
Why were people happy?
Because, you know, people naturally like to change. We know that human being has many steps of his life. You have adolescent, but you have now the normal life when you have your majority. You become a man, you become a woman, ready to work for the country.
Was there a sense of liberation from some kind of...
Not for me, because I was very happy with President Ahidjo. I was very happy for that. Because the country was so respected abroad. And he told everybody that he will be the one who make politics. But because he is the one who make politics, he will be able to have politics that easier the life of the private sector by having a good reputation for Cameroon, a good signature in the banks, and everybody. And believe me, as student, as student, we were very happy because we all had scholarships. When you were from a family, a poor family, let's say that, you have no problem if you were a hard worker in school. You were sure that you will have your scholarship and continue your studies and become someone in the city, in the country. You could become a politician, judges, and we had everything for someone who wanted to be someone, working, studying. We have everything here. If you couldn't study here, you could study abroad with scholarship, which I think is not exactly the same situation today. So we were happy in our youth, as youth in Cameroon, very proud of our president, very proud of being Cameroonian. Believe me, by our time, we had all many facilities to have a French nationality. Germany, you went to Germany without any visa, nothing, but everything seems so easy.
And another area where critics, civil society organizations, opposition politicians think the New Deal regime has failed for the past 37 years is security. The security of Cameroonians, theft, and of course highway robbery insecurity has continued rising, notably in major cities of the country where inhabitants or city dwellers are attacked by suspected bandits and deprived of their belongings almost every day. And one of such incidents occurred here in Douala today, notably at Carrefour College Evangelique in New Bell, Douala 2 subdivision. Immaculate Fogue reports.
3 armed bandits have made away with huge sum of money in Douala. The armed robbers robbed a man in his late 30s in broad daylight at Carrefour Église Evangelique in the New Bell neighborhood, that is in the Douala 2 municipality. The victim, who says works at the Douala City Council, was on his way back from the bank. I was just coming back from the bank. When I arrived at College Evangelique, I was stopped by 3 men who started shooting in the air and later on the tires of my vehicle. A witness recounts the scene. While leaving one of the bars, I saw 3 men on a motorcycle trying to stop the victim, but he refused complying. They later shot the tires of his vehicle and carried 2 bags containing money from his car. They later got on their motorbikes, shooting in the air to scare the population. The exact sum of money stolen was not revealed by the victim. The incident paralyzed circulation along the stretch of road for hours. Meantime, investigations are on course to track down the bandits. Insecurity has been alarming for close to a week now in the New Bell neighborhood in Douala.
And another part of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where insecurity has been on the rise, is the Bepanda neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision. Inhabitants of that part of the town of Douala are attacked by suspected bandits, some killed, some wounded, some deprived of their belongings in the day and in the night. Smanji Kangibre reports.
Pamis Dibang Jean de Dieu is now without his 3 fingers and rendered disabled after unknown men attacked him at his residence at the Bepanda Omnisport neighborhood in the Douala 5 municipality. According to him, it was late at about 11 p.m. that fateful day that he wanted to close the gate of his house after getting a large sound that the said hoodlums attacked and almost killed him, chose that he ran for his dear life. This is just one of the cases of insecurity that has overtaken the neighborhood of Bepanda in the Douala 5 subdivision. On Thursday night, a group of boys armed with machetes were reported to have attacked and wounded persons at the same neighborhood that is now becoming a red zone in the Douala 5 council area. 2 weeks ago, precisely on October 22nd, it was at the Fengudron quarter in the same neighborhood that a young lady, Thani Sylvie, was strangulated to death by unknown persons.
We just want to come, we didn't lock door.
We came and realized that her door was locked. Her friend was the one calling her to go and pick up her child, only to discover that she was lying dead on the floor.
Because we give Spekil as a friend for confidence. So now they can open the door now, they see civil and sleep.
No security, no for the quarter.
There is no security in this quarter. My child did everything during the day and everyone in the neighborhood saw her, only for them to realize later that she was gone.
all man they see.
While the Tani family buries their daughter later this weekend, the other inhabitants left in the Bepanda neighborhood are calling on the increase of security in the locality.
Northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, insecurity has been a major problem for the past close to 3 years as the socio-political and security crisis in the Anglophone parts of the country has continued deepening, while the 37-year-old regime of President Paul Biya struggles to restore normalcy and peace in those two regions to no avail. And insecurity, of course, is on the rise in several parts of those two regions, including Mbengwi in the northwest region of the country, where the new divisional officer has been urged to work hard for a return to normalcy in his area of command. Stella Mbuk reports.
Of Mbengwi subdivision. This is your new subdivisional officer.
Sakwe Jarvis Esapa moving into Mbengwi as divisional officer for the subdivision. His new administrative unit is noted for deadly land and chieftaincy disputes.
Ensure the proper functioning of the Land Consultative Board, in which you are chairperson, and other land services as they are in some cases. Architect of the land dispute in some of the village under your control, or find a lasting solution to all the already existing land dispute. In this direction, put an eye to chieftaincy matter and promptly solve the pending issues in this domain by ensuring the strict application of the regulation governing this institution.
In Mbengwi, like most subdivisions in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions, educational establishments have been abandoned. Most of the buildings are decaying. The pupils and students have either fled the areas or are stranded in their communities. Getting the pupils and students of Mbengwi back into their classes, fighting ghost towns and ghost civil servants, maintaining order in the bike sector, and encouraging those who have taken up arms against the state to drop them are some of the areas the young administrator will have to lay emphasis.
I especially commend to him to take care of this strategic subdivision as a good father.
Having worked with Governor Dov Lili Lafrique, the new DO is aware of his duties, but Mayor Tebek Beatrice prescribes talking to each other as a way through.
All of us, we need collaboration. We need to put our heads together. We need to talk to each other. And we need to follow the laws and communicate with our people to ensure that the best comes for not only Mbengwi subdivision or Mbengwi municipality, but Momo and Northwest as a whole.
Until his appointment as divisional officer from Mbengwi, Sakwe Jarvis was chief of cabinet at the office of the Northwest Regional Governor. In the southwest region of Cameroon, the New Deal regime of President Paul Biya has equally been struggling to restore normalcy and peace as the Anglophone crisis deepens further. And it is within this context that the new divisional officer of the Kumba 3 subdivision, Ngale Mende Alfred, was urged by the senior divisional officer of the Meme Division Tundong Chamberlain to do everything humanly possible to put an end to the separation or the cessation struggle in his area of command. Manji Kangebre files in details.
Ensuring that activities at the various CDC factories in villages like Mokonje, Teke, Malende and Kompina go operational, alongside putting to an end the ghost town phenomenon in Kumba 3 that has crippled business activities, are some of the major tasks given to the newly installed DO of Kumba 3, Ngale Mende Alfred.
The instruction I gave to the new DO is particularly to take command in security domain. We need security in Battery subdivision. You know what we are going through. Malende, formerly Teke, and Trikona. There are three headaches of this subdivision. I am sure that with the new DO, properly, with the force on order, they are going to do their best to eradicate the presence of those secessionists.
As Ngale Mende Alfred was installed by the senior divisional officer of Meme, he was told to also ensure that schools in the villages under his control effectively go operational.
We need school, not only in Sekombati subdivision, but in the whole Meme division, particularly in various villages where children are not going to school. They have to improve themselves to be sure that school is going through without any fear. In general, the task will not be easy, but I'm sure that if we put our hands together, finally we are going to succeed.
Ngale Mende Alfred, who took up the position of Epolewane Veklin, who has been sent to Limbe 3 subdivision, is expected to continue from where his predecessor left, as Kumba 3 was once seen as a danger zone because of the ongoing crisis in the northwest and southwest region.
And another issue which the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, and his government have been struggling to address for close to 4 decades today is the problem of bad roads from the big cities to the hinterlands. In the Republic of Cameroon, inhabitants and commuters are suffering because of the deplorable state of roads, including roads in big cities like Yaoundé, Douala, and others. And of course, we're going to show you one of such roads which are in an advanced state of dilapidation. And of course, we're talking about the National Highway number 5, and there have been frequent accidents and aggressions on that road as a result of the poor state of the road. We have details with Innocent Aze.
If not of distance, road users would have preferred covering the National Road number 5, linking Tongsamba in the Mungo division of the Littoral region and the West region on foot.
Mon frère, c'est très grave. C'est très grave. On ne parle même plus. On essaie vraiment si on arrive vraiment ce qu'on est arrivé.
This is because of the cratered and rugged highway, which not only prolongs journey and implants fatigue in road users, but favors accidents.
Le gouvernement camerounais, chaque jour, les gens meurent dans les axes lourds pour les routes pareilles. Les taxes, tout ça, les transporteurs payent, les chauffeurs payent, rien ne change.
Another even fears this deplorable road could smile with the bridge to split like in other cases in the country. Mobility of persons, especially students in Ebonyi, is not at all flexible, especially when it rains. That students of government's bilingual high school Ebonyi reach their classrooms late and dirty. Apart from circulation difficulties, aggression by highway robbers is alarming on this National Road number 5 at night. Accusing finger usually points at Ebonyi residents. Something which they fume at, promising it will stop. Reason why? They mobilize to fill the craters on the road with stones to facilitate circulation, though it fetches them income.
Unstable socio-economic and political and of course security situation of Cameroon, militants of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, all of other followers, sympathizers of the New Deal regime, and many Cameroonians think that it's not all been 37 years of failure, for according to them some major achievements have equally been recorded for the close to 4 decades of President Paul Biya's reign, notably in the domain of infrastructure with the ongoing construction of the Yaoundé-Douala dual carriage highway and of course other major roads across the country, and also in other domains, and of course notably including the domain of the peace, stability and territorial integrity of the Republic of Cameroon. There have been some achievements during these past 37 years of President Paul Biya's reign. Now we're going to talk about a journalist who is in detention. He has been in detention for several weeks in the southwest region of the country. Samuel Wazizi, journalist with CMTV in the southwest regional chieftain Buea, was arrested in connection to the Anglophone crisis. He was accused of collaborating with separatist fighters, circulating their propaganda and also offering his farm for a camp. These accusations, he rejected them, he dismissed them and simply said they are false, but he has been under detention and the request for habeas corpus has been rejected by the Fako High Court, and we have greater details on this in this extract of the lead defense counsel of Samuel Wazizi, journalist with CMTV in Buea. Take a listen.
The application was in essence dismissed on 2 grounds. First, the court argued that the first applicant, Barrister Ewule, ought not to have been an applicant because he was never arrested. And secondly, that the Procureur General was a wrong party to have been listed in the process. But we hold a different view. And we found the court's ruling a little bit awkward, you know, in the sense that when you have time to look at the ruling, you appreciate that yourself. All the arguments and the case law that we had submitted to court were never taken into consideration in the court's ruling. Rather, the court focused more on what the legal department raised, without making reference to any argument that we raised or any authority, legal authority that we cited. Some of those authorities were authorities of cases that were decided by the same judge. The matters of this nature gives us an opportunity to assess the independence of the judiciary and to see whether or not the judiciary is a power. And we believe that this decision has demonstrated that the judiciary is not. But also, these are means that are meant to stifle or discourage the process of seeking accountability. But we will pursue the matter further. We're advising ourselves. We'll do a repeat application and see what the court will say.
The lead defense counsel of Samuel Wazizi, journalist with CMTV in the southwest regional capital Buea, who has been in detention for several weeks, and there are many other journalists in the northwest regional capital Bamenda and in Yaoundé who have been in detention for a long period of time, and there have been persistent calls from journalist associations for their immediate release, calls that have yielded little or no fruits till now. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving a politician, Dr. NGWANYAM. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Today, militants of the CPDM, militants of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, and other Cameroonians have been celebrating President Paul Biya's accession to power on the 6th of November 1982. There have been activities going on in different parts of the country to mark this remarkable day in the history of Cameroonians, on the history of Cameroon. I wish to find out from you, first of all, Doctor, how old were you when President Paul Biya came to power?
I think I was actually in medical school, 6th year medical school or something like that. I remember working in BBH at the time as an intern, and then that announcement came through. So yes, I had not even graduated as a doctor.
But you witnessed the coming to power of President Paul Biya. How did it happen? How did the new school...
I think it was a great thing because, you know, up until then we knew only one president, and to have a change of presidents overnight was something we were not expecting. And don't forget that, you know, President Ahidjo was perceived as being very strict and very ruthless and many of those things. So it was like, you know, you are in this house with the temperature so hot, and then somebody suddenly opens the doors for a gush of wind to go through. That was the kind of feeling.
You heard Barrister Alice come, and she said there was some kind of celebration after the announcement of President Ahidjo's resignation. That was on the 4th, and then on the 6th, 2 days later, when President Paul Biya took over power, there was some kind of celebration. There was hope in the horizon.
Yes, there was hope, and there was always hope. And you remember when President Paul Biya took over office, everybody had a new mindset. And you remember soon afterwards he came out with his book, Communal Liberalism. I can't remember the year exactly. So people were looking forward to a new direction, and I think he was on a new track, except of course that in 1984, was it 1984, the coup d'etat? Yes. There was the coup d'etat, and that coup d'etat actually flipped things over again. And you know, the president was trying to come out of his box and follow a new direction. But when that coup d'etat came, you know, everything was put back, you know, in the dark. And so he had to go back again into the inner house and re-strategize from there. And from that point on, it was more of security concerns than the security issues, you know, overcame the developmental and economic issues and so on. So every other thing that he had thought of before that time had to be reversed, and that's why we are where we are today. Security is very important.
Right. When the President of the Republic came to power with his slogan of rigor and moralization, what message did it send across to Cameroonians?
I think rigor and moralization is something that is great. There's no way you can make it without rigor and moralization. You know, again, that rigor and moralization came out just when he became president. But soon after that coup d'etat, you know, a lot of things changed. So even though the rigor and moralization was not the sing-song that it was expected to be, people did not live up to its expectations because, you know, the ship had changed direction a little bit. You know, what was at stake on the table had changed a little bit, but we moved off that track of rigor and moralization, and that's why we are in a lot of difficulties today.
What is your evaluation, if you were to make an evaluation of President Paul Biya's 37-year reign? What would you say?
Well, you know, just like anything else, you have to put him through the SWOT analysis. You have to look at his strengths, his weaknesses, his opportunities, and his threats. And then, as we are looking at President Paul Biya, we would see President Paul Biya as a person and president. Then, he is the leader of a political party called the CPDM. But that CPDM is an attachment to his person. And that CPDM has got its own life and lungs and brains and whatever, and has its own character. And then, of course, you have the government and the people. So, and I tend to understand very well what the president is going through, because I own a business. You have a vision for a business, you get people to help you. And then when you turn your back, the people that you put there to do whatever are doing their own thing. So technically, if we have to analyze the things very well, we'll look at President Paul Biya and hold him as a person and see what is it about him that is strong, where has he got some weaknesses. But you know, there are some good and bad things about the CPDM that will rub up onto him. And that would happen because he puts people there and he thinks that they will do the job that he's asked them to do. But sometimes when he turns around and looks five years back and 10 years back, he realizes that they didn't do exactly what he intended done. And therefore, we have been running around in circles in some areas. But this is the thing. While he's been trying to do his best, I would imagine, there have been the demographic growth. Probably when he took over power, probably we were about 16, 18 million, I don't know, but today we are about 25 million. So there's been a demographic growth. And you know, when you have demographic growth, sometimes if you put in place growth mechanisms, if those growth mechanisms don't match the demographics, then it always looks like you have not done enough. And we begin to see that because if you look at the roads in Yaoundé, Carrefour, Wada, all those roads going through Mvongbi, whatever, you see those roads were very beautiful, they look like great streets, but now they are really tiny arteries, and they are always clogged. So technically, you know, we have to be able to build for the future and not just keep looking at the now, here and now. So we have problems in the sense that we look at the here and now and we don't build for the future.
What are some of the major failures of the Biya regime? You had the elites of the far north region of the country, for example, qualifying their region as a region of Boko Haram, a region of insecurity, a region of malaria, a region of cholera, a region of poverty, a region of hunger.
I guess you can say the same thing about every region in this country, but the question is why is it the region of this and that? It still boils down to the human person. God loves us so much. This is one of the richest countries in Africa, I would say. God loves us so much. He's given us everything. But again, as I said, it comes back to our mindsets. It comes back to our way of doing business. It comes back to where we lay emphasis. And I've said it before, we have governance issues. As a people, we have governance issues. And then our school system has failed, and then we have this African intelligentsia in Cameroon. We have this intelligentsia in Cameroon. You will see them going on television and radio, especially in this season, blowing a lot of hot air and telling a lot of lies and so on. You know, President Paul Biya would put people in position of power, expecting them to work and deliver the goods. But instead of the people working and delivering the goods so that the population can be happy, those people tend to create choirs and sing songs and praise the president instead of doing the job for which they have been appointed. And when, you know, they miss the boat. I mean, just to give you a good example, we were talking about we were looking at the issue in Marwa. You know, there was the last speaker. You know, I saw his thing on YouTube.
House Speaker Kavaye.
Yes, but not. There was a young man, the one in a white gandura, the nice looking guy.
One of the MPs. One of the MPs.
You know, if you listen to him on social media, it was a lot longer, and you could see that the crowd was clapping for him because he was speaking the mind of the people. But and you see, Kavaye Gibri is the third power in the country. Is he the third? Yeah. Is the third part. And then when he spoke and said, look, this is the problem we have and we have to be facing truth. When Kawayege took this thing, instead of facing the problems and telling the people what exactly they should do, whether he was going to lead them in some community work or something or whatever, so there's some work, he says he will go and tell the president. So actually, everybody has been using the president as an escape valve. You know, you have problems at your doors. Either you either have the capacity to solve the problems or not, but we should stop this issue of always using the president as the scapegoat. And it's very unfortunate that a third person in the republic will not be able to face problems from the floor and give workable solutions. You say you go and tell the president. That's very, very unfortunate. And that is exactly the kind of mindset we've been going through, and that's what has put us in all this mess.
And he also talked about some militants of the CPDM who are not committed.
Well, he himself is not committed, because to be committed doesn't mean that you should wear the party these things and sing more than anyone else. To be committed means you do the job for which you are paid. And you see, there's another minister too, I think, I don't know from which party he is. Could be CPDM or so. I mean, the big black guy. You know, he was on television. I think it was CRTV with another participant who happens to be a lawyer, and he couldn't even let the gentleman speak. You see, the guy was trying to speak, but because this other one thinks he's a minister and he has a right to television, right to everything, he didn't give the guy a chance to express themselves, which shows that we have a problem with our education. We think that everyone else is just an idiot, and the way we do things, we have to create this spirit which allows us to hold each other, hold each other's hands and solve the problems. Because we think that it's President Paul Biya who has to solve the problems. No, it's true, he has the power and everything, but he gives the power back to the people through he delegates the power back, and instead of the people doing the job, they turn around again and mess him up big time. That's a huge problem we've got to deal with.
Is the problem those who are around the head of state or the head of state himself?
Well, the head of state has got a managerial style of his where he would give you the opportunity to express yourself, and then he pulls back a little bit. And then if you actually knew what to do with power, the country will not be where it is, and we will have a lot of things done. But a lot of people, instead of doing the job for which the president has appointed them or asked them to do, what they do is they live in a state of, number one, either they live in a state of fear, not wanting to try because they think that if they try and make a mistake, they will be kicked out, not wanting to try because they probably don't know what to try in the first place. But we keep spinning around in circles and the job doesn't get done. That's the bottom line.
Now, some politicians like you, members, for example, of the Cameroon People's Party, the CPP, members of the CPP of Kabangwala Edit, members of the Stand Up for Cameroon Civil Society platform, and others think that the New Deal regime has completely failed, and so there's need for a political transition. Has it been all failure during these 37 years of reign?
When you sit sometimes and then you listen to people talk, talk is cheap, and then we've been talking about failure. At some point when the SDF was very much in power, I really believed that they could solve a problem, until I started to examine a few of their own weaknesses and a few of the things they were doing. Then I realized that the human nature is the same. When someone is in power and another one is not in power, the one who is not in power would always throw banana peelings and say all sorts of things, but give the same person who is making the noise the power, and he does exactly worse than what the other one what they've been complaining about. Let me explain. You see, when the SDF was not in power, at some time they made a lot of we are in power, we'll do this. But I asked a few questions, and I remember asking, I think I asked Joshua Osi on this equinox. I said, what has the SDF done for those children whose hands were cut in Bamenda in the 1990s? And there was no answer. Are you waiting to ever take power before you attend to the problems of those children? Now, there was a time too when the SDA was having they were changing their organs in Bamenda at the Congress Hall, and they had been advocating for transparent ballot boxes, free, independent, whatever. But there were just 2,000 delegates. But at the end of the examination, they still frauded, and nobody knew exactly who had won the election to be the organizing secretary or what. There was one Asapnu and so on. So there was all these quarrels, and I just realized that the human nature is very, very difficult. And this is the thing. And of course, this other minister too that was talking about the big guy who couldn't let people talk. When he was still in the opposition running on the street, when he was talking, I don't know his name, I don't want him to take me to court. I don't know, I just know there's one big guy who talks a lot. But this is the thing. As an opposition, he was talking some beautiful things, but as soon as he got power, the guy changed, and you can't tell who he is. That is just how we are. So we are so dishonest. And that is the greatest thing. We don't have character. You can't swear by anybody, and that is what is killing Africa. You can't really trust anybody. You can't swear by anybody. And so when people are complaining because on the outside, yes, you can say all what you want, but given the opportunity, you do exactly the same. You see, okay, let's take like the case of the MRC now and so on with their party and so on. I was just, before I came to studio, I was just asking, fine, besides the party, the politics and the fine arguments and the law and so on, I wanted to know, I was asking myself the questions, what has the MRC done for the grassroots people? People are dying here, suffering here. What have they really done with all their people in the diaspora? What have they done to bring solace and relief to the suffering people of West Cameroon? What have they done for people suffering in one way or the other? Nothing. Everybody is just looking for ways and means of grabbing power. But if you actually ask them, what are you going to do with the power? They don't have it. They think that is when they get the power before they would give someone a cup of water to drink. It's not true.
Dr. NGWANYAM, when you look at the socio-economic situation of Cameroon today, with many Cameroonians living below the poverty line, many Cameroonians, especially young people, unemployed, unemployment rate rising. When you look at the economic situation of Cameroon today, the housewife unable to put food on the table, workers of the banana and plantain research center in Jombe who have gone for 28 months without salaries, and all of these. What do you think about the 37 years of President Paul Biya's reign as far as the economic, the socio-economic life of Cameroon is concerned?
This is the thing. You know, it doesn't matter who is in power. Once you have power, you have to use it to make the economy work. It's very important. You've got to use power to make the economy work. But more often than not in Africa, when we take power, we tend to use it just for the sake of power itself, and we don't work the economy. And we are in a situation where when we say economy, we are not really doing anything to add value to systems. You know, if I were to qualify the economy in Cameroon, I'll call it a primitive economy, because you have an advanced economy, and then you have a middle class kind of economy, then a primitive economy. And an advanced economy is that economy, you know, it's whose products, what they are selling is mostly gray matter, and then industry and the services and so on. They are making things work. But if we talk of economies that are just doing well, you know, like the BRICS, you know, Brazil and all the other countries, India and so on. But ours, when you come to our own economy, our own economy does not depend on the brains of our children. We just go and we don't even cut the tree trunks ourselves. Some Lebanese or some French people come and pay us, and we sit in an office that is air conditioned. Then they enter our bushes, cut the trees, and go sell them for whatever they want and give us pennies. And worse of all, we take the pennies and buy Chinese rice and eat and go and shit. That is not an economy. If you do that, your people will always cry of hunger.
All right, Doctor, when I listen to you, I understand that 37 years of reign of President Paul Biya has not been all failure. What are some of the major achievements, quickly, before we go?
Oh, some of the major achievements, you know, I mean, I was thinking about that. We can't start counting the nitty-gritties and so on, but let's just agree that he has tried to do something, but the demographics are more than what has been done. But we need more roads, we need more schools and so on. And by the way, you know, the Ministry of Higher Education is beginning to renovate itself, because the kind of education we have been having is failed, and the Ministry of Higher Education is changing to professional education, and it is that professional education that will drive our economy. It's that professional education that will create the jobs and so on. So we are in a season of change.
The major dialogue, is it one of the achievements?
The major dialogue, the major dialogue, the main purpose of the major national dialogue was to solve the Anglophone problem, as the president said. But so we are still waiting for the definition of the special status to know whether it's the real solution we have been waiting for or not.
Dr. NGWANYAM, you're a politician. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, dear viewers, for staying with us. That's it for today.